What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Final Fantasy Prefixes video. And to speed this along, not really speeding it along, but my condition is actually worsening, I guess. So I'm just going to go ahead and not do the other cam and going right into this review. So let's get into the review here, shall we? So we got Relm. Her main selling point, of course, is the Rod Imperial, 35% or 25%. I'm not sure what it'll be. The wiki currently says 35%, but it originally was 25. I think it was buffed to 35, so we'll find out what it is. 35% is quite a lot, though. It's the highest, I think, currently. And also AoE killers, which is, I don't really use that often because there's other killer things that she's really only here for the Rod Imperial. Unless she has some other things like lightning and fire boost and Imperials for it, and also AoE full dispel, which is, actually I've used it a few times. She also can abuse LB units. You can fill up their Olympus cause. She has LB fill rate buff, and also LB damage buff in the same move cooldown. And I can't really think of any cons for her because the only con is she's a 5 to 7 star. She's not that bad compared to the previous 5 to 7 stars. So not much cons, other than she's really only here for the Rod Imperial, and that's about it. But she can do some other things like MP Restoration, which is really good versus Demon Chimera. So yeah, you'll probably actually fit her in the team if you're pulling for Terra. You'll probably be using her a little bit, like I have been doing. So my score will be 7 out of 10. For a 5 to 7 star unit, that's pretty high score. So 7 out of 10 for Relm. Moving on to Assassin Shadow. So he's infinite turns into Brave Shift form, Katana in Peril, which is quite nice. I've used this quite a bit myself, because there's a lot of upcoming Katana users, and he really helps out with that. So 80% to breaks on demand, Katana break dodge, which I've also used, and you may have also seen Sinzar use this strategy as well. 100% human killer, but you're not really using him for DPS, and also Brave Shift form has 70% evasion, which is not really needed. Revoke with 50% human mitigation, whatever. You're really only bringing him to being a breaker and also the break dodge and Katana in Peril at this point. So you could make him the Vaughn of this era. You can make him Vaughn, make him dodge, provoke. And sorry for the pauses. So his Brave Shift form really it's not that good. His Brave Shift form is really not good. His Brave Shift form is almost all greatness abilities are his chaining, so he has very limited uses. I would just not do it. Just don't use his Brave Shift form. So overall, he has a lot of good things about him. He still has that Wind and Dark Imperil and Imbue, so he still has that from his 5 to 7 star form. I would give him an 8 out of 10 because he has a lot of good things about him. Like seriously, he has some good things. The thing that's dragging him down is his Brave Shift form. It's okay. If you really want him to do that, if you really want him to bring him along for that, okay. But I've never really needed it. It's not that good. I personally would prefer to have chaining that's not limited to a few uses. So 8 out of 10 is still a very good score for someone who has all these roles. Very nice. And we'll be moving on to the next character already. Archmage Kefka. So we've got Archmage Kefka here with infinite turns in his Brave Shift form. And unlike Shadow, you kind of want to be in his Brave Shift form, right? So you can give killers. Zahn can do something with this. He has 150% single target killers that Zahn could give to everybody. He has Thunder Chaining. That's stacking, so it's not as reliable compared to other units like Ibarra, but it's okay. Well, Ibarra also does stacking damage, doesn't she? Whoops. Okay, well they can chain together probably. You can probably have Kefka and Ibarra chain together, which is interesting. And he has an Element Burst Chainer in his Brave Shift form, 100% Element Burst damage passive and 200% Element Burst in his cooldown, but there's downside. So his chaining is still AoE, which is whatever. And his limit burst damage CD is permanent limit burst damage, but it doesn't come until turn 9, which is a meme in itself. That's just a meme in itself, guys. So you're really only using him as a limit burst damage dealer. If you're bringing a dupe, you're not using any of his other chaining really, unless you feel like you want to do that and not use his limit burst. But his limit burst is probably his strongest. I'm pretty sure it still is. That 9 turn though, it kind of drags down everything. I don't know why they made it 9 turns. Like, when trials don't even last that long for the most part, unless you're doing Demon Chimera, really. So, what score am I going to be giving him? I think I'm going to be giving him a 7.5 out of 10 just because that 9 turn cooldown. He would have been a really strong damage dealer if it was on turn like 2 or 3 or something like that. So 7.5, he's good, but you're not really going to be bringing him for Dark Visions unless you're really desperate and you don't have anyone else, or you don't have any mages, and you're like, hey, I've got Kefka, I can use Kefka. Then that's hey, if you have no mages at all and you got Kefkas and you can make him to Neo Vision Awaken, why not? Okay, I gave him a, you know, middle of the road score. I gave him an above average score. Okay, don't be discouraged by that. If you have no mages, okay, go for it. It's not to discourage you. I'm just saying if you have other mages, don't worry about them. The opposite is true as well. So moving on to the main event here. I know we're moving along pretty fast. I'm trying to rest my voice. So I actually redid this whole slide. It took me a bit because of how I am. So I removed a lot of the relevant stuff from the last one. I added some other stuff that actually are relevant. So she has multi-element chaining in her normal form, but you're really not gonna. Well, maybe on the global side you might use it, but on the Japer side I barely used it. She's barely doing any of her chaining because it doesn't really line up very well because the chaining will break most of the time. 20% TDH, but you're not building as a TDH unit. That's a waste. You will want to build her as a true dual wield. That's kind of the problem for a lot of players. They don't have any true dual wield equipment, but you really want to build her true dual wield. 6 times cap, or 600% or 6 times cap in both forms, aquatic and dragon killers, which is nice. Although really only using it for her chaining and you can't use it for evoke damage, so really not that good, but it's okay. And she starts out with the battle with full Esper Gauge, which is really necessary so you can summon that Ifrit or that Shiva or that Rama, whoever you're using. Ifrit by default usually. And Limit Burst in a Brave Shift form is the evoke damage finisher everybody knows and loves. You want to stack Evo magic, Evo damage, and Limit Burst damage. Limit Burst damage is coming last. If you can do the first two, the last one is Limit Burst damage. If you can do that too. And like I mentioned, Esper field bonus for mages only. If it Rama and Shiva, she can only do those 3 for ice, fire, and thunder. I did that completely in reverse, really. So, for example, if you have Fizzless, you want to use Shiva, for example. If you don't have any mages that are using any of those elements, then you want to definitely summon Ifrit for herself. And if you have Ibarra, you want to summon Rama, of course. Or just no one, because Ibarra wants this also to be in the dark form, So we all know how strong she is. Her Brave Shift form is in infinite turns, which is pretty, unexplainable because she'll be able to do so much damage. She's really not free-to-play friendly, but there are ways of building her semi-free-to-play friendly. If you have some S-tier Moogles, you can get her S-Teamars, at least one of them. Get one of her S-Teamar at least. And it requires a lot of gear, definitely, that if you want to see that big spreadsheet number, you need to have all this gear. And if you don't have it, you still have some of the stuff, but not all of it. You'll still be able to hit hard, just not as hard as that number. So, stuff like Gentiana S-Teamar, stuff like Celestia Teamar 4-star, stuff like Rydia, Pure Summoner Rydia, they gave away a few of her recently, so if you picked her, hopefully you picked her. Yuna's S-Teamar, stuff like that. I mean, stuff like that you may have laying around if you haven't checked your inventory lately. If you have Luna Freya's S-Teamar, you are top notch. If you have Unaleska's S-Teamar, you are even more top notch. But there are other options. And I know it might be tempting to use Citra's S-Teamar, but it's a staff. And if you want to go that far, you'd rather just equip a rod with Relm instead, because I think the Rod Imperial will do more, because equipping a rod, remember that? Equipping a rod will do more damage. So, after using her for so long, she's also a good support with boosting your mages and things like that. So after using her for a few months, I now can give her a real score of giving her a 9 out of 10 compared to my previous score, which I didn't understand. Because back then, guys, if you watched my previous review, back then we didn't really know much about this Esper stuff yet, like the Esper field bonus yet. It was literally brand new, and the parsing wasn't even there or anything like that. I just thought, oh, she has like no kit, she has no abilities or anything, but she does have a lot of things there. So I've got that rotation there. Make sure you follow that. It's the best rotation possible of all time. And the second turn is roughly translated. Just use her Grain's ability in the things like that. So overall, guys, if you have all that stuff, you were ready to pull for Terra, then go for it. If you are still unsure, I have a video that'll probably be at the end of this video. I'll talk more about how to build Terra and things like that. So make sure you do that. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you watch all the way to the end of this video, make sure to type in #Terra. There we go. There's a keyword. Now, I better get out of here before my voice dies again. Thank you guys for watching. I much appreciate it for you guys' patience, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.